grand jurors that serve on a particular grand jury, you have to have at least 9 of them there each day to transact any business.
Could these men be influenced by a district attorney or a police chief?
No, I believe these men, the type of person that you have on a grand jury, that would serve on a grand jury and would give up their time to their community like that, would be above influence from anyone.
There are few cities in the nation the size of Arlington that would attempt a bond election as ambitious as the one on Tuesday. It's generally agreed that the market is heading toward more favorable times for the sale of bonds, but it's also agreed that there's a general public antipathy toward voting to sell them. Arlington, it seems, has an edge in passing bond issues. Since Tom Vandergriff has been in the mayor's office, no important issue has failed. Even admitted non-essential issues like the purchase and expansion of Turnpike Stadium and the financing for the Seven Seas project won handily. I asked Mayor Vandergriff whether he thinks an expected low voter turnout will hurt.
Our voters, however, that these are the most important recommendations that have ever been made to the community, at least since I've been in office, and we trust that everyone will take time to vote their convictions.
The public will decide Tuesday on improvements including expanded fire and police protection, streets, water and sewer projects, a new city hall, money for the municipal airport, park funds, and a new central library. In Fort Worth's recent election, the library issue was dropped from the ballot because of the danger of failure. And even then in Fort Worth, 2 out of the 5 remaining issues at stake failed: park expansion and airport improvement. Mayor Vandergriff is committed to seeing that these issues pass in Arlington. With his track record, it's becoming a matter of personal honor, especially since the mayor is quite possibly thinking of higher political office in addition to the welfare of the city. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, Arlington.
The brand new, bright and shiny dump trucks, they're not the old, dirty, dingy type that we're used to seeing. Is this a new trend?
Here again, this is part of the efficiency of our organization. The manufacturers play a very, very important part. They are bringing about new equipment, compactor equipment. It's very efficient. It does a job fast at the lowest possible cost and allows us to do our job better, which is really what we have to do. We serve the people. That's our job.
Total fashion look, and that makes an overall pretty picture for every lady today. The newest thing in hair is the 3 lengths. We have the short length with the low form in the back, which is very feminine, and elegant, which is the name of the trend by the National Association. It's smooth combination with curls and very feminine looking. And then we go into the midi length, which can be added with a hairpiece. Then we'll go into maybe a little longer look. Poofs are new, not the little tiny curls anymore, but poofs and bigger effects. Then we go into the maxi of longer hair, and we sort of name these like the skirt lengths. And if you wear the longer length hair, then we think you ought to wear the longer length skirts.
In the solid waste field, it's not uncommon to have seen the old open dump around places. As a matter of fact, it was quite satisfactory in the years gone by, but no longer today. Public works men are getting themselves involved not in building incinerators anymore, but building incinerators with good types of air cleaning equipment on it. If we move into the field of sanitary landfill to handle solid waste instead of incineration, then these sanitary landfills are being run so they're not a nuisance to the neighborhood, and so that they do not contaminate the ground on which they're located or the water supply. And they are more or less pleasing to see, if you can call them pleasing, but they're far better fit in with the community than they were heretofore.
Judging from the public meetings we have held relative to the bond issue, it has not aroused the groundswell of public excitement we had hoped. But we trust that these signs indicate a general favoritism with the proposal. Ordinarily, when there is considerable opposition, then naturally it comes to the front rather quickly. That hasn't been the case here.
I think the grand jury generally is a cross-section race-wise, but an individual that serves on a Dallas County grand jury has to be in a position that he can serve from 8:30 to at least 12:30, Monday through Friday, for 3 months. If he's an individual that is working for a company where they will not permit that much time from his job, then he cannot serve. If he's an individual that has a business of his own and he can work it out, or if he works for a company that will permit him, one of the big corporations, then he'll be in a position where he can serve. But he has to serve, and it's very important that he's there every day.
I think this is a passing phase, and just as unlimited pornography as they have discovered in Norway and in Sweden gets boring. I think when they have used all the freedom they have, they will discover that life is more complex than that.
Let's go back to Miss West for a moment. Why right under the name Miss West?
I was born Miss West. And my husband was and is in schoolwork. He teaches at the University of California. One of the first things I ever wrote was published in New Masses, and it was published under the name of Macpherson. And he moved as superintendent of schools to the town where we now live. And I was visited the second day we were there, by 2 communists who welcomed me to the local cell, because I had a piece published in New Masses, which was a just story. You know, I would have had it published any place. So my husband said to me after that visit, I think in the future you had better write as Jessamine West and leave the McPherson out of it.
We've got the country of Israel involved. We've got our entire Middle East situation. And if we tried to get involved in an instant in this atomic war that we live in today, we might end up just a complete world war. And I agree with President Nixon. President Nixon has said that we should handle this on a diplomatic basis, that we ought to work with the State Department and through the State Department and through the recognized governments. The people that are holding these hostages are just an irresponsible group of guerrillas. We can't negotiate with a bunch of people that obviously are lunatics.
Well, this man came in and got a pint of whiskey, and he was arguing over the price of the whiskey. And he told my cousin, which is assistant manager, that he had a gun out in the car and he was going to go out there and get it and shoot him. My cousin drawed our pistol and it was going to tell the man to leave, and the gun went off, and it was strictly an accident, and that's about all I know.
In your opinion, then, Mr. Dean had no intention of firing the gun?
None whatsoever. He was just going to tell the man to leave.
Was the victim known to you?
He'd been in a couple of times.
What kind of customer was he?
Cheap whiskey and wine. Nothing real big. I mean, he wasn't no big spending customer. Just a average, I guess.
Have you had any trouble with customers before?
Plenty. Winos, mostly.
Ever been threatened before?
Several times.
Was it a store policy to pull the gun in the event of a threat?
No. We usually just, if it gets too bad, we just call the police usually. But I mean, we didn't, like I say, it was an accident. He didn't know the gun was going to go off.
Bear in mind that when you have several thousand wage earners residing in your city whose livelihoods are dependent upon a giant corporation like LTV, you really pull for them. And certainly we're hopeful LTV gains this contract. It would have an enormously favorable impact upon our community. We're worried about losing good citizens who have been associated with LTV for many, many years and have been caught in some of these employee adjustments. And they're thinking of leaving the area. We can't lose good citizens of their caliber.
I just admitted I was wrong. And the thing about it, as soon as I came out, when they talked to me, I was really didn't have the background information. It was right after the governor's conference to make the statement. And I think the mass transit problem of the city is a very real problem, which I'm concerned about. But to me, it was basically, as soon as I said it, was a violation of trust law to set up funds in a trust and then to use them for some other purpose than the original intent when the trust was set up.
Another point, Mr. Eggers, I believe you're saying that the governor's office is costing $1,135,000 a year, and you apparently feel that's too much.
Well, I think the thing is, it's doubled in the last couple of years during his term. It's almost doubled here, and over Governor Connolly. And I thought Governor Connolly did a pretty effective job. I think the thing is, I think it's too much when he uses people in the governor's office as he is doing now for campaign purposes. I don't want to pay the governor's people to go out and campaign for the governor. He's using my money to campaign against me, and I don't like that.
What I have suggested is that we take a look at programs such as group insurance, similar to hospital group insurance, which gives the advantage of group participation to legitimate types of organizations, such as school teachers, or it could be lawyers or doctors, or it could be labor unions. And within this group, of course, you would have various gradations of rates depending on experience, loss experience, for those people.
We have numerous major dividing areas, you might say, yet to settle. Some of these concern overtime work, some of them concern seniority, some of them concern people's jobs where they've severed people's seniority, tell them they no longer work there after they've been under doctor's care and thought they were unable to work. Their doctor said they were unable to work, but when they came back to work, management said they felt they should have come back earlier, therefore they no longer have a job. These are some of the issues we must settle locally before we will be willing to go back to work.
By doing this, we've eliminated $104,000 worth of expenditures in the new budget. We've reduced the tax rate by 15 cents, so now we're talking about $1.15 rather than $1.30. Of course, as you know, we've to do this and take this out, we've eliminated 14 of the 18 new employees that were proposed in the new budget. We've still had to maintain 4 firemen to reduce the working hours of these particular employees because they're now working 72 and we're going to reduce them to 56.
The armed guards is an emergency expedient. It's not certainly the most effective way of preventing it. Obviously, what we need to do is to prevent the individual from going aboard the airplane initially. And that's the total thrust of our program. Provide detection systems, airport surveillance. As a matter of fact, develop an intelligence base that will give us information about everyone who might think that this is a good idea. people who are fugitives from justice, people who are mentally disturbed, and also people who are politically motivated to perform despicable acts of terrorism. We have detection devices. The next generation, or those that we are developing in addition to those that we have, are going to be much better, far more effective, and hijacking is simply one form of problem. The second one, and probably the worst form, is that of using munitions or bombs. I hope we can prevent that from developing into anything more than the threat.
Also, as we've discussed before, the city employees hasn't received any raise in the last 2 years, but we reduced each employee at least $100 annually, which will allow an employee to on a minimum of $500, with a maximum of any one annual payment of $1,200 annually.
For all citizens in terms of racial, religious, and ethnic groups. We are not attempting to build another black community or a black ghetto. We are attempting to build a fine community where anyone will be proud to live in. And it's a totally planned community in which we plan to have a cooperative homeowners association to take care of the yards, to make sure of the upkeep. We have planned to have a nursery school, a cooperative grocery store, these sort of things. And the cooperative idea is not new, but we're going to extend it a step farther in Sema Village in making it serve the people and serve them well.
One program that has been adopted or has been authorized and is getting underway in New Mexico is predicted to save approximately 30% of the cost of the rates on automobile insurance. Now, I think myself that it's time that we take a look at programs like that in Texas, because the automobile insurance rates are just completely out of hand.